Hey, you guys. So, welcome back to the channel. We've been doing some shoving around with these guys over here, which is pretty challenging because this is a challenging speaker. You can tell in this room it's a big boy to play with. I had some nulls going on, and perfection is a thing, but when you have a system like this, you keep on tinkering with it until you get it right. So, um, I had to get some advice from certain people in my circle to get these to the next level good. So now I'm getting to a point where they're finally really getting there. I thought I would do a little bit of history and past about myself in terms of Infinity and how this came to be. Um, Infinity is a brand that I became familiar with when I was about 20 years old. I'm 45 now. My late dad was a huge audio enthusiast, and my uncle was even worse. He would switch speakers like he would switch underwear. He was one of those guys. Very dedicated space, tons of money invested in it. I come from the Netherlands myself. I'm coming from a town called 's-Hertogenbosch. Some of you Dutch people, hello, hoe gaat het daar? But yeah, the Kappa 9 was my first encounter with Infinity. And if you know the Kappa 9, it is a gorgeous, massive speaker. If I got a older 8 here, which is a woofer less and a CMIT less, but massive speaker, just as tall, 5 foot tall, about 100 pounds heavy, two 12-inch woofers, a polygraph, a polydome, an emit tweeter, and a C-mid tweeter, super emit tweeter. And on the back, you had an emit tweeter. It was just a speaker that mesmerized me. I was 20 years old. My hearing was better. My taste was also different. It was all about that oomph, that bass, that impact that you want. And this is the first time I saw them. They were now here in the States. It's kind of very awkward, but it's kind of a thing here. Most Infinities you buy here are in oak. It's very hard to find them in black veneer. Now, if you ever have seen a Kappa 9 or a Kappa 8 in black veneer, gorgeous. It's just, I don't know, there's something about that black color and the shape that these speakers are that makes them even pop even more. So, my uncle had the Kappa 9 for a little while, and I didn't pay too much attention to it until my dad got the opportunity to buy him from him because it was a shift system. So he would buy something better and bigger and bolder and broader, and he would kind of slowly went into the I'm not paying $10,000 for a pair of speakers, so I'm going to buy his old Kappa 9. And I remember when he told me that, he's like, yo, I have an opportunity to buy your uncle's speakers. They're the Infinity Kappa 9. I said, wow, seriously, those Goliaths of speakers. And I remember these things got hauled in, and they were very heavily modified. They had a granite foot underneath it. So what he did was actually pretty clever. I got to hand it to him. We had a small a cemetery close by, and he would go to the cemetery, and the guy who did the cutting of cutting granite there, making headstones, they have a lot of leftover granite. So he would buy it, and he would ask the guy, "Hey, if I give you $100 or $200, would you cut it for me in the shape that I want?" And he did that. So he had a beautiful feet. He had a framework behind it that was custom welded on there. They tapped in spikes as well. It was really, you ate it, you just added another 50, 60 pounds of weight per speaker. So it was a very heavy speaker to haul in. But finally, they were there. And man, I couldn't get enough of the sound. They were driven by, for Dutch people who are into the audio stuff, know this brand very well, Sphinx. So the Sphinx Project 2 preamp, I believe, and he used the Sphinx Project 12 monoblocks, which were more than enough to run that speaker. Surprisingly, because they were pretty small, but they spec'd really well. They were really beautiful preamplifier or amplifiers. Sorry, and we were driving those for years with it. Fast forward 4 or 5 years later, surround sound became more of a big thing. My dad wanted to go more into the upper end surround sound, so he bought an ELAC with jet tweeters, whole home theater at Hobo Hi-Fi, as you guys know, this store too. Because the two guys that worked there, the manager at Hobo Hi-Fi, Ad Koppenol, he was a family friend. So that's how we rolled into this. It was very natural for us to change equipment. But at the time, I had a pair of missions in my little apartment. I had a pair of Missions that I bought brand new, and I was proud of them. They were really pretty. They were small little, floor standers. They were really great for me in the apartment. But he was doing a partial trade in. His whole stereo, basically, he was getting 8,000 euros or so back for it, and that would be going towards the home theater part of it, which was a $25,000 rig. So I can understand that, there's a lot of money involved. And I was like, I wish I had the money for something as beautiful as that, because those nines were, I loved them. They were just my vibe, my thing. Well, long story short, my dad sold it to me for the symbolic amount of 500 euros. You know how that goes between father and son. I told him I can't pay. It's like, well, you're gonna make some payments. If you can make, so sorry, if you make some payments, And I remember I went home and I was just ecstatic, like I'm gonna have the Capanaz. But then you realize that your apartment is not really suited for a speaker that size. And I remember my neighbors seeing me and my uncle were hauling up these speakers up a staircase, with these big granite feet, because they were chemically glued to it. So it's this construction glue that is harder than cement. So they don't come off. You have to haul it. And they were looking like, what in the F is that, dude? I said, well, those are my new speakers. So I was 20, 25 years old when I owned them. And man, what a blast these speakers were. They were so fucking amazing. Now, in an apartment, yes, it's too big, but do you really give a shit? Come on, guys. We know how that goes. At that age, you don't care. So that was my thing. Every time I was off work, I would play music. Every time I was off, I would play music. Now, unfortunately, at the time, I really had to get rid of them because it was such an annoyance and sound. My upper neighbor was just complaining nonstop downstairs. They called the cops on me 5,500 times a week. And at one point, it's like, I just got to go something smaller. I really hate doing this. And it was hard chasing that sound. It was really hard to change that sound. But it also made me evolve better and as a person and as an audio enthusiast. I had quad ESLs. I had Magnepans. I had Sonus Faber speakers. I had transmission line speakers. KEF. I had so many loudspeakers and setups at that time, ranging from Sony ESTA N90, which is pretty rare, up to Magnetosh. I had Mark Levison, Past Lab Monos. I really started to get into the high end things of things because, as I got older, I made more money. I worked for the same company for about a decade to 12 years. So, I had more to spend and I spent more, trust me. So at that point, I was getting a little bit lost in it too. I was just buying too much shit, too many things crossed, but always Infinity was this brand that stuck with me. And I could just not find over there a better speaker that easily. And then I was stuck on Magnepans, which kind of makes sense because you could tell, guys, I'm now 45. I'm about to be 46 in August. I still love playing our sound. There's just no going around it. It's something that's stuck with me forever. The ESL 57s, the quads, if you guys know them, those ugly radiator-looking speakers. They had a sweet spot. You had to be in a vice like this because the second that you twist your head or go up it disappeared. But the sound quality was phenomenal. It had this airiness, this locked in center image. That was very, 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 very awesome to listen to. And Magnepans filled that gap for me. It took away a little bit of the detailing of an ESL, but it gave me a lot of planar airiness and openness and open baffle sound. There's something to that. So fast forward, I went on a break for a long time. I was 7 to 8 years out of the hobby. I immigrated to Thailand. I'm not going to bother you with this whole story. What I did there, I had my own business, or I did my own thing. That's where my wife and I met. My wife is American, so she was married at the time. That's a whole different story if you're so interested. That is a story in itself. It could be a book. But then we decided to finally, settle down in America. And man, America is the audio Valhalla of the world. And to understand this, to put this in perspective, and the Dutch people who watch this know that I'm right. Now, I could be off a little bit on price, but for instance, a Magnepan LRS here was $600. You could call Magnepan, order these speakers, and $600, they're delivered at your door. In my country, that is a 1,200 euro speaker. It's more than double the price. Why? You pay import costs, you pay the brick and mortar store, you pay the shipping guy, you pay the airplane, everything. So prices are very high. A Kappa 9 over there can cost you probably for 3 or 4 thousand euros. I don't know how it is now. This one, as I heard from through good sources, if you buy this one over there, you're looking at 7, 8 thousand euros. That's about 9 grand, 9 to 10 grand. That's a lot of money, guys. Here you buy them for a lot cheaper. Why? Because it comes from here. It's very readily available here. So when I came here, as you guys know, I had a lot of speakers in between until I folded back into a Kappa 9. I had the old Kappa 9 back. The magic was kind of gone with that speaker for me because by that time I've heard so many things that are so much, richer and unfortunately better sounding. And I started to understand more, hey, room acoustics, that's a big thing. Does it fit in my room? And that was one of the speakers. The old 9, I had him here. I had 3 sets. I sold them for good money. I'm going to be honest with you because that was also the reason I got rid of him. But I still had a warm heart for them. They were just not the sound that was clicking here. The best size speaker I've had in here was the Kappa 8.1, which I recently sold because I had some, not hardships, but I wanted to prepare. By the way, I have a new job, so I've already started a week ago, which is good. I have good income again, so things are going the right way for me. But then this happened. Now my first set was a black veneer, very rare black veneer set of this. It was the RS1B. This one is converted to an RS1B, but that's where the past comes from. It always stuck with me. These in my country, I probably could not afford these. So the first set that I bought it from San Francisco, was in pretty piss poor shape. Bought them really cheap, sold them for a good amount of money here in Georgia, and I rotated back into this speaker again. Now this is the most challenging Infinity I've ever had, but it's also the most interesting one and probably one of the most higher end ones I've ever bought. Um, like I said, in my country, I cannot afford these speakers. I'm just being straight with you. It's just too much money. Um, so here we are, the RS1. It's back in the fold. It's back here in this living room. I do feel that my system is okay to run this system. I don't think that's the problem so much. The room is more of the challenge in this particular case because these woofer towers, they need so much space to really come to their right. I need almost double the space behind me to really, get that to fill the room. So either I'm going to get a very dedicated space for this if I ever have the money to do something like that, which is quite unlikely because these are huge, or I move them downstairs to the garage. I'm not sure yet to convert that into a bigger listening space and go a little bit smaller here, or I actually want to going to get rid of these sooner or later. I don't know yet. There's a lot of unknowns here. For now, they stay. They're not on the market or anything, and they're definitely here. I want to keep them if I can, but I always have been also that person that doesn't get too attached to stuff. I know this is replaceable. I know sooner or later, if I really wanted to, I could find another set if I wanted to. But this is my second set, so I tend to keep these, especially the shape that these are in and what is done to the speaker. So what is, to me, the pinnacle of Infinity sound within the realm of affordability? And well, for me, that is one speaker that I would easily put this one aside for. That is the IRS Beta. And the Beta is a phenomenal speaker. I know a guy here in Brookhaven that has 2 sets in his bedroom. It's crazy. A little bit jealous about that, I'm not going to lie. But he has it in his bedroom, in a bedroom setup. It's kind of crazy. But the Beta is such a beautiful, bar none, uncompromised loudspeaker in the Infinity lineage. And this is a thing too. You can look this up. Nudell even preferred the Beta over the IRS-5, which I understand. There's a technological advancement with the Beta. As he put it, the IRS-5 shows what we could do, and the IRS Beta is what we should do. And I really have to agree. That is, to me, the pinnacle of the Infinity lineage. This is a wonderful speaker. Do not get me wrong. This is not a slouch. This is not comparable with a normal monopole either. But when you go into the realm of this, the Beta is, for me, probably my end game speaker. I will probably never sell that, and in the future, I think I'm going to get there. And then you guys got to stay here, of course, for that. But if I get there, for sure, that they're going to replace these. But that being said, I am happy now, thanks to the help of some friends of mine that really helped me out setting this up better. Moving the woofer towers further back. Don't I had certain things a little bit wrong with it, but um, yeah, this is it, you guys. That's my Infinity story. Maybe you guys have an awesome story like that too. Let me know. Sorry, that's a little bit lengthy, but I thought I'd share it. Some people ask me how this came to be. Well, this is how this came to be. I'm a long lifetime fan of the New Dells. Thank you for watching, and see you at the next one.